Hello. Today we are talking about perception versus knowledge. I'm Nicole Witt and I'm your miracle mentor, and we are looking at A Course in Miracles. Today we are in chapter 3, section 3, perception versus knowledge. So let's see what Jesus has to tell us. We have been emphasizing perception and have said very little about knowledge as yet. This is because perception must be straightened out before you can know anything. To know is to be certain. Uncertainty means that you do not know. Knowledge is power because it is certain, and certainty is strength. Perception is temporary. As an attribute of the belief in space and time, it is subject to either fear or love. Misperceptions produce fear, and true perceptions foster love, but neither brings certainty because all perception varies. That is why it is not knowledge. True perception is the basis for knowledge, but knowing is the affirmation of truth and beyond all perceptions. Right? So in this world, our perceptions vary. Sometimes we're seeing through the eyes of love. Sometimes we're seeing through the eyes of fear. And so we go back and forth and back and forth. And I know for me, sometimes it can be so fast, I feel like I have whiplash. Like I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's why in this world, looking out through perception, it's difficult to be certain, to have certainty, because we can change. Our perceptions change. One day I feel certain, I feel I know, I feel great, I feel on top of the world, I get it, I get it, I get it. And then the next day, not so much. And then I doubt everything from the day before. So that's what he's talking about. When we're in perception, that is not the same as knowledge, because perception can never be certain. It is always changing because it's part of the belief in time and space. All your difficulties stem from the fact that you do not recognize yourself, your brother, or God. To recognize means to know again, implying that you knew before. You can see in many ways because perception involves interpretation, and this means that it is not whole or consistent. The miracle, being a way of perceiving, is not knowledge. It is the right answer to a question, but you do not question when you know. Questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. The miracle, or the right answer, corrects them. Since perceptions change, their dependence on time is obvious. How you perceive at any given time determines what you do, and actions must occur in time. Knowledge is timeless, because certainty is not questionable. You know when you have ceased to ask questions. Okay, so the miracle is a change in perception. It's part of the belief in time and space. It's something that we have here in this illusory world to help us question the illusory world, to question our illusions. And when we question them, the answer that we get, if it is of truth, is it of love, is the miracle, is the shift. But it's not knowledge, okay? It is something that we use here in this illusion of a world that we're in to help us get out of it, to help us get to knowledge where we don't question anymore and we're completely consistent and in that space of love and knowing. The questioning mind perceives itself in time and therefore looks for future answers. The closed mind believes the future and the present will be the same. This establishes a seemingly stable state that is usually an attempt to counteract an underlying fear that the future will be worse than the present. This fear inhibits the tendency to question at all. So we can either be looking to the future for answers, or we can shut down completely and not even want to think about the future because we're afraid that it'll be worse. And so we really shut down. True vision is the natural perception of spiritual sight, but it is still a correction rather than a fact. Spiritual sight is symbolic and therefore not a device for knowing. It is, however, a means of right perception which brings it into the proper domain of the miracle. A vision of God would be a miracle rather than a revelation. The fact that perception is involved in all removes the experience from the realm of knowledge. That is why visions, however holy, do not last. The Bible tells you to know yourself, or to be certain. Certainty is always of God. When you love someone, you have perceived him as he is, and this makes it possible for you to know him. Until you first perceive him as he is, you cannot know him. While you ask questions about him, you are clearly implying that you do not know God. Okay? So as long as we're asking questions about who our brother is in reality, what they're doing, and how it affects us, all of those questions, we are implying that we do not know God. Certainty does not require action. When you say you are acting on the basis of knowledge, you are really confusing knowledge with perception. Knowledge provides the strength for creative thinking, but not for right doing. Perception, miracles, and doing are closely related. Knowledge is the result of revelation and induces only thought. Even in its most spiritualized form, perception involves the body. Knowledge comes from the altar within and is timeless because it is certain. To perceive the truth is not the same as to know it. So he's really just setting up this difference, the different levels, okay? Because the Course does, while there are in reality no levels, we think that there are, right? We've made a world of levels. So he meets us where we are and he's saying, look, there's two levels here. There's knowledge, which is of God, which is not about seeing anything. It's not about doing anything. It just is. God is, and it's knowledge. Then there's the perception, which is where we use miracles in changing our perception, where we actually induce action, where we actually do things in the world. Right perception is necessary before God can communicate directly to his elders, which he established in his sons. There he can communicate his certainty, and his knowledge will bring peace without question. God is not a stranger to his sons, and his sons are not strangers to each other. Knowledge preceded both perception and time, and will ultimately replace them. That is the real meaning of Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, and before Abraham was, I am. Perception can and must be stabilized, but knowledge is stable. Fear God and keep his commandments becomes know God and accept his certainty. Okay, so right perception is necessary before we can have the certainty of knowledge. So that's why this book exists, to help us change our perceptions, because that is the first step. And really that's the only step we can take here in this world. If you attack error in another, you will hurt yourself. You cannot know your brother when you attack him. Attack is always made upon a stranger. You are making him a stranger by misperceiving him, and so you cannot know him. It is because you have made him a stranger that you are afraid of him. Perceive him correctly so that you can know him. There are no strangers in God's creation. To create as he created, you can create only what you know, and therefore accept as yours. God knows his children with perfect certainty. He created them by knowing them. He recognizes them perfectly. When they do not recognize each other, They do not recognize him. So again, this section is about really the importance of the miracle in changing our perception, in changing our perception from fear to love. And then once we are able to do that, that is when we can really bring in the certainty and really have that knowledge and be certain and find that peace of God. So the first step is changing our perception, which is what we use miracles for. So I'm so grateful that you joined me today. If you like this video, I'm doing one for each section as it goes along through the whole course. So subscribe down below and you'll get all the future videos. And also, go back and look at the beginning, because I started at the beginning in the preface and there's some really great stuff in there. So I hope you have a great day. The next video will be on error and the ego. See you then. Love you. Bye-bye.